We all just saw the news yesterday that longtime King Diamond solo guitarist Andy LaRocque had either left the band, got fired. It was kind of been left up in the air, and King tried to maintain that this was an amicable split. But I think we all kind of know better at this point, and it inspired me to want to do this video where I just lay into King, because I feel like this has been a long time coming. I have been so sick and tired of the petulant little baby, little girl dramas around King Diamond, and people act like he's the nicest, coolest guy ever, but he really is just like the biggest crybaby and runs several great lineups all the time because of his little petty squabbles. Now, first of all, Andy LaRocque, it's very obvious that this split was over the fact that Andy went and made a solo project to do shows with former King Diamond bassist Hal Patino and former drummer Mikkey Dee, the man Mikkey Dee, which raises a huge question. Why hasn't Mikkey Dee been invited back into King Diamond over the past couple decades? Obviously, he's not Motorhead anymore. They're all dead. He's the only living member. And he is obviously the most iconic of all of King's drummers. So that was already a huge red flag to me. And I guess King Diamond had a conniption fit at the fact that he was playing, Andy, that is, was playing with Mikkey and Hal. And Hal, King had a huge blowout with on Facebook and social media, where Hal was saying that King had fired him because he wasn't getting paid enough by King, and they had a huge fight over it. King was claiming that he was a stupid drug addict, so God knows what happened there. But King has a long history of having huge fights over the smallest, dumbest things. Like, look a couple years back to when they did the Merciful Fate reunion. For whatever reason, Michael Denner, of all people, who's a hugely important member of Merciful Fate, the lead guitarist, was not invited back. And he was an important part of the songwriting, especially in the early days. And King slowly started to write way more and more Merciful Fate's music, especially in the 90s. And it's just been sidelining Michael for the longest time. Now, he had quit and left to basically spend more time with his family over the decades, but when they did the reunion in recent years, he was uninvited because King was mad about him and Hank Sherman doing some solo project together, and the album cover resembled Don't Break the Oath too much. Like, what a stupid ass reason to not re-invite him. And apparently those two would kind of bicker a lot, but it's like, who cares? Michael is such an important member. You invite some yes man like Mike Weed in there when we all want Michael Denner. It's completely ridiculous. And speaking of Merciful Fate stuff, the most annoying thing to me is I think Kim Ruzz is like the single most important part of the original Merciful Fate sound, other than Hank's bluesy riffs and King's crazy vocals. And that weird R&B style drumming that he laid down with the most amazing groove and feel ever is so missing on every single project King Diamond would do afterwards. And it's laughable to see his reasons for why he didn't like Kim Ruzz. It was literally over stupid small things, like we all wanted to dress in black and he wanted to dress in white and wear shorts. Like, who cares? Seriously, you're gonna let go one of the most important parts of your sound and do a reunion and leave him out like an asshole just because he wanted to wear shorts and just because he didn't want to do interviews and was shy to do interviews? Who cares? The guys in the back can't be seen behind the drum set anyways. Completely ridiculous. And it's just all these constant dramas going around with him. He basically splits with how many members over his solo catalog and Merciful Fate, constantly losing and regaining members. Now, I understand the split that he had with Merciful Fate in the 80s because him and Hank Sherman were going for wildly different musical directions. But this is just unexcusable at this point. Andy LaRocque is so synonymous with King Diamond's sound, especially his lead guitar work and his tone of his riffs and everything. It just will not sound like King Diamond without him. And the annoying thing to us fans is he's supposed to be working on an album called The Institute that might be changing its name now, that might now be like a double or triple album, but it's been taking so many years, it's getting ridiculous. And now Merciful Fate is also working on an album that's taking forever. And they played a song from it, the Jackal of Salzburg, and it's like the worst song they've ever done. It's embarrassing. And at this point, I think us King Diamond fans deserve a real explanation as to why this material from both bands is taking so ungodly long to release, because it's getting to the point that the explanation and excuse that he's just busy makes no sense. It's been 2 goddamn decades, but after receiving the last King Diamond album, okay? Him being busy and too busy to turn in his homework for 2 decades is ridiculous. Even Tool could do it. So either A, he doesn't want to make the album and feels uninspired and bored by it, which is like, at this point, just release what you have, because they kept claiming all the time the album's done, the music's done, they just need to record it. You need 2 decades to record an album? Ridiculous. Or he is so up his own ass, worried that the album's gonna suck and keeps reworking everything, and he just needs someone to just be like, release the damn thing already, dude. Just light a fire under his ass. And I could only imagine how annoyed Andy must be, because, you know, he needs that money from the release of that album more than anyone. And he's just getting constantly sidelined by King. Andy barely writes any of the music anymore, you know. He used to write way more back in the day. Back when they had Michael in the band, he used to write way more too. It's just completely King in his own head at this point. I think we need to call it for what it is. Call all these balls and strikes for what they are. Is King just seems to be a control freak that's sort of losing his mind. There's something wrong there where he can't release an album after 2 damn decades, and just compounds the situation, making it worse, saying, well, it's actually now going to be 4 albums instead, so to just kick the can down the road further. And I think it's just time for us to accept that King will either come out and admit what's really going on, or the album is never going to happen. And I have even less faith that a Merciful Fate album is going to happen, unless Michael and Hank or something just write all of the songs and then King just does the lyrics, which would be infinitely easier. But we all know that's never going to happen, because even with later Merciful Fate stuff, like I said, King has to write damn near everything too for some reason. And I'm going to be honest, in regards to Merciful Fate, his songwriting's not nearly as good or as bluesy or as evil sounding as the other guys anyways. So something I completely forgot to mention in passing, though, is that when Mikkey Dee had originally left in the late 80s, and I think did Conspiracy, you know, for his final album, he was saying that even then, it was supposed to be a band dynamic from King Diamond, which is the whole reason they all left Merciful Fate. Most of those members, you know, like Michael Denner, Timmy Hansen, who had just left at that point, it had collapsed. It was no longer a band situation. It was just King Diamond's ego project. And yeah, of course there were some good albums in there, like obviously Conspiracy is one of the best, and The Eye, and the super underrated Spider's Lullaby. But overall, King Diamond is always better with certain people and people to play around with. And it's just, like, who literally would want to listen to a King Diamond album without Andy LaRocque? Like, good luck finding a guy that could even come close to replacing the hole left in that band. Even in the live setting, it's just going to be an embarrassment from this point. King, figure this out and at least bring Andy LaRocque back. This is the most egregious, stupid falling out and firing he has ever had. That's just my thoughts on all this. I just think King is ridiculous at this point, and are we really just going to accept a King Diamond album without Andy LaRocque at this point? It's getting to be ridiculous, and that's even if they're going to release the thing. I'm just tired of this drama around King, and he needs to just bring back the members that people actually care about, that add to the sound, like Kim Ruzz, like Mikkey Dee, like Andy LaRocque and Michael Denner. What are you doing?
Subscribe to the Downfall Network.
No!